I was just like crazy working out, crazy eating healthy. And I was so like bloated and like swollen. And I was so confused why until finally like I realized I was so stressed out about trying to just slim down, like to like be in a bikini for a week, that it literally counteracted everything I was doing.
Something that's really always impacted me is, this cycle around diet and healthy eating. I feel like my entire life I've been on this kind of roller coaster. I've, questioned whether or not I should eat something. If I ate it, I'd feel, guilty. If I didn't, I'd feel deprived. And I feel like there's just so much information coming at us from all angles, trying to like educate us on what's good and what's bad. But I thought, why can't we just create a world where we can eat freely without restriction and never have to worry about, weight gain or negative health consequences? How powerful would that be? How freeing would that be? If we can do things like turn beans into meat, then why can't we make, refined carbs, which is, the largest driver of weight gain and a host of negative health consequences, simply good for you? And that's kind of how BetterBrand originated. But, in terms of the story and me personally, I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I was, really young. And, I have a couple of entrepreneurs in my family, and I've always been so inspired by the ability to just kind of create something and drive impact, as one person. And so, my parents are, very conservative. They're first generation. I was always taught that I needed to have a very strong foundation before I could just dive into something. So, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of just like dive into the deep end or after school or whatnot, but I went through this like winding path to kind of get me here and build up the fundamentals. So I started my career actually as a CPA, believe it or not. At Ernst & Young, to learn kind of like the ins and outs of how, a balance sheet would flow into an income statement, cash flow, control environment of the company. I spent time working on the ground in Bangalore, India, building the global talent hub there to learn about, operations, cross-functional integration, hiring, teaming, and then moved into litigation consulting where in New York, where, I was learning about a lot of large data synthesis and finding answers in these kind of like, large abstract data sets and being able to really synthesize it and present it and make decisions based off of that. And then, after that journey, I felt like, I had a lot of the fundamental pieces, but wanted an educational capstone. So I went to Wharton for my MBA. Majored in entrepreneurship and strategic management. And, it was from there where, it's just, you're surrounded by so many inspirational people, right? At every given time. And I think it just gave me that last push to really believe, you can drive impact as one person. And not only that, it's almost your responsibility to do so. So at that point, I started kind of now looping back to where we started this conversation, thinking back to where my largest pain points were and just kind of thinking like, how big of a difference it would have made in my life if I could eat what I wanted, right? And not have to worry about anything and not question anything. And that's really where BetterBrand originated.
Which is so incredible. And I want to go back to that last part that you just said, which sounds like the why, right? Like, why did you do this? You had this incredible education, incredible lineup in your career, and you chose to go into, the food industry and consumer packaged goods and things like that. So, tell us like why, like what was like the self journey on creating the product?
Yeah. I guess it's just really this focus on diet and healthy eating has always been my largest pain point. Like I cannot tell you how many diets I've been on, how many just like how much mind space it's really taken throughout my entire life and how much anxiety I felt just around kind of this whole idea of diet, right? And then, you couple that and you think, we're on social media all the time. The rise of social media has really placed more stress on appearance than ever before,
Sure.
right? And if we're thinking about it in the US, right, over 100 million people are trying to lose weight at every given time. And we're spending $30 billion on weight loss products a year, which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, but despite this, 70% of people are overweight and 40% are obese.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think about so there's a huge disconnect there, right? And then if you then kind of look even below the layers, like the number of Americans with eating disorders is now climbed to over 30 million. And anxiety, depression rates are an all-time high. And it's just such a personal problem that I felt, myself, amongst, very close friends of mine. And it's just, and really, if you think about it, the underlying there's diet is really the number one corollary to weight gain and weight loss, right? And refined carbs are the largest driver there just because of how it's metabolized in the body as a simple sugar, which then raises your insulin levels in your bloodstream, which is, a fat storage hormone. And it's just this whole negative cycle. And so you can just innovate to turn the least healthy foods or the least healthy foods into the most, right? And negate this entire issue. And it really allows people the ability to eat freely without restriction, right? And replaces the sense of guilt or questioning, should I eat this? And deprivation and stress, quite frankly, with the sense of clarity and empowerment and freedom, which is, I think it's just such a powerful movement to be driving and one that can really drive large scale impact and change our lives in so many ways. While, kind of improving human health on a macro level.
Sure. And I love what you're talking about here, because I feel like with the rise of social media, we have been so exposed to education overload, and there's so many fast crash diets. There's so many new things now where you have the F factor kind of dietary eating where it's talking about just overloading on fiber. You have this plant-based movement now where everyone's eating plants and moving so far away from protein. And it really does, at this point, being someone I'm not a nutritionist, I eat as well as I can. I have a meal plan to help me out to make sure I'm getting the nutrients I need. But it is overwhelming to try to figure out what does my body need? Where do I look to? How do I, find what's best for me? But then also too, how do I not diet and restrict myself so that I hate my life? I'm stressed out. I'll never forget, I was going to Lake Powell with a girlfriend of mine, and I was just crazy working out, crazy eating healthy. And I was so bloated and swollen. And I was so confused why until finally, I realized I was so stressed out about trying to just slim down, to be in a bikini for a week, that it literally counteracted everything I was doing.
Right. And that, I so resonate with that. And there really, I also believe there's a huge mind body connection too, right? If you're stressed and this focus on diet, it really is extremely stressful.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're always feeling deprived and you have to, be controlling what you're eating and this whole diet culture that's built, right? It's eating the least or just that paired with information overload. I think it's just, it causes anxiety for so many people and really just takes away so much from us just being able to be present and be just enjoy life. Right.
Yeah.
And so, rather than prescribing to, diet culture, what if we could just eliminate it? Right.
Yeah.
What if we could just eat what we wanted to eat and, ate what we craved, and never have to deprive ourselves and still never have to worry about weight gain.
Yeah.
And still never have to worry about, negative health consequences. And that's exactly, the movement and what I really want to drive with Better,